Hi guys, I realise that I have quite a few documentaries in my collection and I thought some of them might interest you guys, so I thought I'd put together a documentary update. I'll start with the more light-hearted and I'll work my way through to the more serious and profound. This is the first one I'll show. It's a Region 1 edition of Plastercaster. If you've never heard of Plastercaster, it's the story of Cynthia Plastercaster. If you haven't heard of Cynthia Plastercaster, type her name into Google and see what results you get. She's actually a groupie from the 60s and 70s, and she specialised in doing plaster casts of famous rock star penises. Most notably, probably Jimi Hendrix, Eric Burdon. There's quite a few more famous rock stars in there, and a few of the more obscure ones as well. Like I said, this is the Region 1 edition. Loaded with special features. There's some Easter eggs in there as well. Well worth having a look at. It's funny, it's informative, it's entertaining. There is a Region 4 of this. It's rated MA, and I'm not sure if it's cut down compared to this one. I really don't know, but this Region 1 is great and it's worth picking up. Light-hearted adult viewing, Plastercaster. Next one is an Australian documentary, 2002 documentary called Making Venus. This is outstanding. This is it's riveting from go to woe. It's basically anyone who's ever thought about making a film probably needs to have a look at this one first, because it probably scare you to death. A couple of cousins raised $56,000 to make a film, a feature film called The Venus Factory. And everything goes wrong for them. Basically, the film gets knocked back by distributors because it's too close storyline-wise to Boogie Nights. It goes through a whole series of re-edits, reshoots, budget blowouts, re-releases. It's just amazing what happens to these guys. You will not believe it. Sometimes you want to wring their necks, and other times you feel sorry for them. A great Madman discs, out of print, but you can still pick this up if you look around on eBay. I actually grabbed this one for $2 from a Madman industry sale about 12 months ago. There was about 6 copies. Had I known it was going to be out of print, I would have bought the lot. But a great documentary, an absolute must-see. Track it down. It's called Making Venus. Next up is the 2008 film Man on Wire. This film won the Academy Award for Best Documentary in 2009, Most Outstanding British Film at the BAFTAs 2009, and won the Grand Jury Prize at Sundance 2008. It's the story of Philippe Petit, the French acrobat tightrope walker, who walked between the Twin Towers in New York in August 1974. This film documents the lead up to the walk, how they did it, because it was highly illegal, of course, it wasn't sanctioned. And it's been sort of dramatised, and it's riveting. It's great stuff, and you just won't believe what they did to do this walk and how many people were involved. It's just amazing. It says on there 1,350 feet up, the artistic crime of the century, and I suppose it probably was. On this particular disc, a Madman release, it has loaded with extras. There's a Sydney Harbour Bridge walk, which was also illegal. That was in '73, I think. That's on there. There's a commentary. There's interviews. There's all sorts of things on the disc. It's a great documentary. It's thoroughly entertaining and interesting. It's worth having a look at. It's called Man on Wire. Continuing with documentaries about the making of films, this is Burden of Dreams. Excellent film by Les Blank. It's about the making of Werner Herzog's Fitzcarraldo. Fitzcarraldo was a film made in the Amazon basin. It's a brilliant film. If you haven't seen it, check the film out first and then have a look at this documentary. I'll show you the film in a minute as well. There's all sorts of problems with this production. Jason Robards and Mick Jagger were supposed to play roles, and they had to pull out for various reasons after filming had begun. There were weather problems, there were morale problems with cast and crew. Klaus Kinski was very problematic. It's a disaster. This film probably isn't as good as Hearts of Darkness, the film about the making of Apocalypse Now, which still hasn't had a release, but It's absolutely fascinating. If you want to know, if you haven't heard of Fitzcarraldo, that's the film there. It's brilliant. You've got to have a look at it. This is the umbrella release. So yeah, check out Fitzcarraldo and then have a look at this documentary called Burden of Dreams. Continuing with Werner Herzog, this is one of his films. It's a documentary called Grizzly Man. It's about Timothy Treadwell, who was an environmentalist who was particularly interested in grizzly bears and their conservation. He went into the Alaskan Peninsula and virtually lived with the bears. He got very comfortable with them, unfortunately, to his demise, when he and his girlfriend were killed and eaten by one of the bears in October 2003. And this documentary basically is about Timothy's life on the peninsula. He had a video camera and filmed a lot of it. In fact, the attack and the subsequent eating of him was actually taped with a camera that had fallen on the ground. You don't get any of that, but it's how ironic all of this is. But it's a fascinating documentary. A lot of people think this guy was a moron. Whether that's true or not, he probably was in some way. I think his heart was in the right place, but this is fascinating from start to finish, and it's worth having a look at. It's called Grizzly Man. The next film is a fascinating 2002 documentary called Bus 174. If you haven't heard of this one, it's a true story of a homeless kid in Rio in June 2000 who hijacks a bus with passengers. And the whole thing is played out in front of media cameras, TV, media, the whole lot. Apparently 35 million Brazilians were watching this on TV live as it unfolded. What this film does, it's incredible how your emotions will change with this film. You have no sympathy for this kid, but then you get some of the backstory. You realise some of the incompetence of the police in Rio, and the injustice of a lot of things, and you realise that things aren't quite as they seem. Now, I'm not going to tell you how this story ends unless you already know, because the ending will just blow you away. If you're not expecting it, if you have no idea what this story is about, you will not expect what happens at the end. Absolutely fantastic. This is far more riveting than most Hollywood crap productions that you see, and this is all real. Absolutely fascinating. It's called Bus 174, and it's worth having a look at. The next documentary is actually a trilogy. It's known as the Highlands Trilogy, and it's made by arguably the greatest documentary filmmaking team this country has ever produced, in Bob Connolly and the late Robin Anderson. I think Bob Connolly has given up filmmaking since his wife tragically died in 2002. But this set is absolutely incredible. You really need to check this out if you've never seen it. Starts off with First Contact, Joe Lay's Neighbours and Black Harvest. I won't go into what they're about because I'll probably only confuse you, but if you look it up on the Internet Movie Database, you can get some information on these. These are actually out of print at the moment, but you can still pick them up on eBay if you have a look around. I actually reviewed this trilogy a few years ago, and it's quite a lengthy review, and I was absolutely stoked to get an email from Bob Connolly. I was absolutely thrilled by it, and I still have it in my inbox, my email. Probably never get rid of it. Bob Connolly and Robin Anderson are sort of filmmaking heroes of mine, so just take my word for it. You need to see these if you're really interested in quality documentaries. This is the Highlands Trilogy.